begin in South Africa, where lawyers for President Jacob Zuma have told the court that he accepts he must pay some of the $15 million spent on the upgrades of his Nkandla homestead. Until now, the presidency and ruling ANC have insisted he owes nothing. CCTV's Olisan Jamela has the story.
Upgrades to President Jacob Zuma's Nkandla homestead cost the taxpayers $15 million at current rates. That included security features, but also elements such as amphitheater, a swimming pool and cattle enclosure. A report by the country's watchdog said Zuma, quote, had benefited unduly and that he should repay the money. Zuma refused, but last week he offered to repay some of the money. But this case is now about whether he broke the law by ignoring the watchdog's report and whether the report is binding.
We submit that the President defied the public protector's orders and that his defiance constituted a violation of his duties under the Constitution.
After 2 years of wrangling, the President's lawyers conceded.
We accept it's not just a recommendation. She wanted certain things done, and the undertaking is that those things should be done because they must be done.
Is your submission in this matter that the remedial action that was taken by the public prosecutor, that it was by the public protector, was binding and therefore had to be complied with?
Yes.
Nkandla, however, rejected an order stating that Zuma had been defiant, citing that this could be used against him in impeachment proceedings. He accused the opposition parties of using this case for political gains. In the meantime, the public protector's office feels vindicated.
This has really always been about accountability of the state. It's not about President Zuma, it's not about individuals, it's about accountability for the state, for governance in terms of the Constitution of South Africa and the laws of South Africa.
Meanwhile, thousands of opposition protesters marched to the court in support of their leaders. Olisan Jamela, CCTV, Johannesburg, South Africa.
So let's get the latest on the ground. CCTV's Angelo Coppola is standing by for us in Johannesburg. Angelo, now that President Zuma's lawyers have reiterated his recent offer to pay back money that was not related to securing his Nkandla home, what is the expected outcome of this case?
Well, what happens now is the Constitutional Court really have to go and read through the volumes and volumes of submissions that have been sent through by the different legal teams from the different people that were represented today. It's thousands upon thousands of pages. We've heard some inkling of where the justices are going, but it's going to be weeks and possibly even a little bit longer before we'll hear any kind of recommendation or ruling on this matter, because it's fairly complicated, and it's certainly not going to happen in the next 2 days, which is when President Zuma is due to stand up in Parliament and deliver his State of the Nation address on Thursday. Panina?
So how is this case being viewed by the South African public? Do we expect it to have significant political and legal implications?
Well, Panina, it's seen by some as a confession because the President's lawyer essentially did an about-turn or a U-turn from the President's last submission. It's seen by some analysts as a confession to protect the President from worse consequences, financially, first of all, and then politically. And it's also seen as confirmation that the National Assembly and the South African Police Services Minister were at fault. Parliament also failed in its duty, some are telling us, to hold the executive accountable. So this leaves the SAPS Minister, or South African Police Services Minister, the President's supporters on this matter, and the National Assembly embarrassed. The EFF, on the other hand, and the DA to a lesser extent, are occupying moral high ground for now. But probably more importantly, it appears that the status of the public protector, which is the watchdog, has been reinforced today. But again, we're going to have to wait for that official ruling by the Constitutional Court judges. Panina?
All right, Angelo Coppola live there in Johannesburg. Thank you, Angelo.